not have been to 1 million cups yet. So just by a show of hands, can you let me know if you've never been to 1 million cups? Okay, great. We have a few newcomers. So 1 million cups is a program of the Kauffman Foundation. The Kauffman Foundation is really well known in the Midwest, but they are devoted to helping entrepreneurs be successful throughout the globe. And they started the 1 million cups program, I think about 8 years ago. We've been having this program in Sacramento for 2.5 years. And every week, every Wednesday morning, 2 startup companies will present, followed by a Q&A session with you, the audience. So the purpose of the presentation is education, both for the presenter and for the audience. And it's a way to support the startups in our region. Right. So we're an all-volunteer organizer team. This needs to be updated because we have some people who've come off and some people who have come on. If you're one of the organizers, if you could raise your hand. So we've got Anna back there doing a live stream on Facebook. And we've got Dan, who is one of our coaches. So the presenters, usually, sometimes we miss the boat, but the presenters usually get a short coaching session where they can do a dry run of their presentation and get some feedback before they come here. So like I said, we're all volunteer. We don't have a bank account. We rely on our sponsors to keep us going. And all we need is a place to meet and coffee to drink. And today our sponsor is the Studio Co-working. Jeff, would you like to say a few words about the studio?
Yeah, so welcome everybody to the Studio Co-working. We just opened. This is actually our grand opening day today. I'm Jeff Sakala, the director here. We're sponsoring the space. Just want to mention that the Big Tree Coffee has supplied the coffee for you today, so I hope you like it. And so just a little bit about the space. This is what we call our community room. So we have event space to do things like this here, startup events. In the back we have some private offices, and then this space here doubles as our co-working space. So we can accommodate about 30 in here on a daily basis for co-working. So if you're interested, see me afterwards, and hope you have a good time.
And you are the first co-working space in Roseville. Is that correct?
I would say, as far as a co-working space, yes. There was another location here, but it was more of an incubator that didn't have event space or memberships or anything like that.
And in case you didn't know, you were featured in the Sacramento Business Journal's morning newsletter this morning. I saw that. I saw the headline, and I didn't read the article, so stay tuned for that. I do have one question about the coffee. This is super critical. Is it all regular coffee, not decaf?
It's all regular, yeah. There's a house. There's a house and there's a dark roast.
Okay, then I think I got the dark roast, so I'm a happy camper. So without further ado, we will start with our first presenter. And I'm doing double duty as MC and slide person today, so bear with me. Joe, you'll have 6 minutes, more or less, to present, okay. And then we'll do the Q&A.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Joe Chicola. I'm the founder and president of BitAML. We provide regulatory compliance consulting solutions exclusively for the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin space. In particular, we work a lot with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin startups, financial institutions. We also advise law enforcement and as well traditional bankers that are interested or have explored opportunities in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space, specifically from a regulatory compliance lens. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of our solutions for the digital world. Before we do that, a little bit of a sort of a landscape of financial services and regulation. Traditional financial services, lots of pitfalls and vulnerabilities with respect to compliance and regulatory oversight. There are voluminous documents and requirements of financial institutions, all sorts of reg this, reg that, lots of coverage in that space. Add to that a whole new sub-industry of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency on top of those existing players in the space, and it makes for a very crowded regulatory compliance scene. I won't go through all the metrics here, but some sort of bellwethers to show the trajectory and the interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, the number of wallet addresses, number of transactions, and the overall market cap, which is roughly about the same as a PayPal or a Visa system. So we're not talking about a huge financial system, but one in which the upward trajectory continues to rise. As far as regulation, 49 states and all of the US territories require a state money transmitter license, and that is the principal, or most common I should say, regulatory oversight of cryptocurrency financial institutions. Best way to think of money transmitters, think of Western Union, MoneyGram. I think we're all kind of familiar with those business models. Same regulations apply to our clients in the cryptocurrency space doing exchange type activities. So as I mentioned, compliance oversight, specifically AML, which as of course is in our company name, anti-money laundering, the first point of regulatory contact. Our clients are responsible for reporting suspicious activity and are ultimately deputized by the government to report suspicious and unusual transactions, keep certain records, thresholds, certain logs, customer identification, and things of that nature. We found out early in the space when we started our firm 4 years ago, which I'm told makes me old in Bitcoin years. We found out that there really wasn't anybody helping out the cryptocurrency companies, that there was a sort of void. We had the traditional players like Deloitte and K2 and sort of KPMG and some of the bigger firms and lawyers that were sort of hanging a shingle and said, oh yeah, we can do Bitcoin stuff too. And what that led to was a lot of sort of analog sort of compliance solutions and a lack of institutional leadership. Right? So we saw a lot of companies say, oh yeah, we can do crypto too. If someone comes in, we might be able to help them out. There was a lack of actually focusing on the crypto companies, and we saw that as an opportunity where we could not only focus our attention specifically on that as we have for the past 4 years. We don't have any traditional compliance-related projects that we work on. It specifically has to do with crypto, where we could come in with that thought leadership that we continue today through our blog posts, our cryptocurrency compliance 101 series, our way of spreading information, helping the industry, and at the same time we've actually been able to reduce the price of compliance across the board. So 4 years ago when we started, we were competing with law firms that would write a supposed no action letter to regulators. They would charge $10,000, $20,000 for that letter. That doesn't happen anymore. In fact, our firm actually writes letters to certain states, and we do it as part of our package, which essentially turns out to be free or a very low cost for our clients. So the price of compliance has gone way down. Again, we don't want to take credit for all that and think that it was us, but by offering solutions that are tailored to the entrepreneurs in this space, and that's worth mentioning, right? So our clients are by and large, one of our clients says, yeah, it's usually 2 dudes and a laptop, right? So it's sort of the shorthand for 1 or 2 people. They have a laptop, they have an idea, modest capital, maybe some accumulated capital they have from investing in crypto early on, or friends and family, that sort of thing. So we're really working with folks that are super early entry level, super startup, whereas in traditional finance, it's big banks, it's companies that have large line item budgets for compliance. So it's a very unique aspect of our work. And ultimately, there was absence of digital compliance solutions or RegTech. So that gave us the idea of spinning out our RegTech platform. So at BitAML, we do regulatory compliance consulting, as I mentioned, but we found the need for technology solutions, because like the consulting solutions, the technology solutions were extremely overpriced. They didn't have that compatibility with the crypto space, and on top of all that, they just couldn't compete in the market. In fact, many of them, some of the big names in sort of SaaS platforms at RegTech came into the space, and then they immediately left because they couldn't make any money. As I mentioned before, our clients tend to be startups, usually in small margin areas like Bitcoin ATMs or over-the-counter trading platforms, where some of those big solutions didn't cut it. So we said, okay, we'll take the best of both worlds. We have the consulting piece, right? So humans, right, when you need them, and then technology for some of the more remunerative tasks or some of the day-to-day compliance activities, and then being able to back that up and power that by compliance experts specializing in our field. Whoops. So a little bit about ComplyFit. We have two products within our tech area. One is transaction monitoring. As you can see here, allows you to have a quick snapshot of suspicious activity, track transactions, super straightforward. Think of it like Mint or Every Dollar, right? Just gives you a quick snapshot of your compliance right away. No extra bells and whistles, no extra this, that, and the other thing that our clients don't need and don't need to pay for, really. So we're able to deliver that and then have that backed up by our experts so that if you did get some sort of notification or if you have a little bit of the red here on one particular metric, you'd have the ability to contact our experts, and it was a way for us to really sort of continue to sell our consulting services and have the ability to serve our clients through technology, keep that relationship, and sort of keep watering that flower in our relationship. The second part of the platform we're really excited about is our money transmission. So to our knowledge, there's no other platform for state money transmission licensing. So each state has a different money transmission license requirement. So we've aggregated those together, researched all the states, and we're constantly updating that so individuals can complete their quarterly filings and other aspects of licensing. So real quick, competitive landscape, and then I'll wrap it up for Q&A. We want to be up here, right? So convenient, affordable. I guess we could put efficient and flexible as well if we had to use other adjectives, but we want to be up here and of course specialize in crypto financial services. Many of the players down here, large firms like Perkins Coie, which we've actually worked with, they're outstanding. But unfortunately, they are quite expensive. And for the lower end of the market or some of the entry-level folks that we work with, they're immediately priced out once they have that initial contact with these folks. So I'll pause right there, Laura. I see that my time has expired. I'd love to take some questions if you want to lead the charge.
So did you have any other slides?
I did have some more slides, but I want to respect the time of the group.
All right. What we do here, the first question we'd like to ask is how can this community help you?
Okay.
So.
Sure. How can the community help me? I'd like to get connected with folks that are working on Bitcoin or blockchain-related projects here locally. We just relocated our firm from Illinois, so admittedly we're still learning about some of the assets we have in the startup community, as well as learning who some of the folks are that are working on projects, even if they don't turn out to be clients or turn out to be folks that we can help, but we can share our knowledge with and maybe grow in the industry together.
Okay, and I think you connected with the local Bitcoin cryptocurrency meetup group?
That's correct. Yeah, there's sort of a new and emerging cryptocurrency group, meetup group, based in Sacramento, and they're just going through some leadership changes, and they're actually growing quite rapidly. So
you spoke there Monday, is that
I did. I actually spoke there. I was an invited speaker. I talked about regulatory compliance, outlined some of the requirements, really got deep into the weeds, and I think I was up there for about an hour answering questions. So as a consultant, I'd love to talk, and there are no shortage of questions about compliance.
And that group meets every other Monday at McClellan.
Correct. Yeah, there's a nice innovation space there in McClellan. If you have a chance, do check it out.
Okay, so we'll open it up for general questions. You can call on whomever.
Yes.
Sort of tangent from what you said, but have you considered any of the sort of individual trader and transaction compliance pieces? IRS is really aggressive about this now. Once you get over 3, 4, 5, 2, 4, 6,000 transactions, trying to do the reporting becomes kind of a real pain. So is there a way to, I'm just throwing something out there, is there a way to leverage something you're already doing and provide that for the individual trader space?
Sure. So our services focus on compliance for those that are deemed financial institutions by the definition of the government. If you are individually trading, it depends on your business model, but more often than not, those folks will be required to go through money transmission licensure or requirements for an AML compliance program. So we do help a lot of over-the-counter traders that are engaged in that space. As far as taxes are concerned, I'm not a tax attorney or an accountant, but we do have a lot of strategic partners that engage in that. And you're right, the IRS is very interested in individuals filing their taxes. So for those that aren't aware, if you buy and sell cryptocurrency, the IRS has said for purposes of taxation it's considered property. Right? So we have plenty of history on the books of what property, capital gains, capital loss. Same rules apply to crypto. You buy crypto at let's say you had the good fortune of buying a Bitcoin at $100, today it's almost 4,000, you would pay a tax on the difference between the two were you to sell that Bitcoin today.
Yeah, I was just thinking the whole piece you said about there being a lack of, sort of transactional support and reporting, and the type of data that needs to be collected just can be spun another way. So, thank you.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah.
So I saw something on the news about that the U.S. government is the largest holder of Bitcoin now because of asset forfeiture seizures. Just curious, do you work with government agencies, police departments, state agencies on things like that, compliance and whatnot?
Yeah, so we do. We actually have a full day training course for law enforcement. It's actually certified by POST, Peace Officer Standardized Training. So we have the only POST certified, which is the state. All the states have a POST certification for law enforcement to have credits. They have to have a certain amount of credits in order for their department to be accredited at the state level. So we have the only course that we know of in the U.S. certified here in California. We're now going to other states as well. Full day long course includes activities. We actually have an activity where law enforcement members send Bitcoin to each other in the room, and then we put it on the screen and we track it together, and it's pretty fun. In addition to that, we talk about typologies and rules and asset forfeiture and things like that. So yeah, we're very excited to start working more with law enforcement. Yeah.
You talked a bit about the growth of the overall crypto space, but what specifically is the trajectory and growth of the financial institutions, or I guess your customer base, over the last several years?
So the crypto financial institutions, we're seeing a lot more growth. Bitcoin ATMs, or that's kind of a bad name, kiosks, are growing quite rapidly around the U.S., mostly because the majority of states have a so-called no action or no opinion status, including California at present, where they don't require a state license. So if it's a direct transaction from party to party, or what we call wallet to wallet in the industry. So that exception in the way the regulation is written, or rather not written, allows for that ability to transact without a state license. So you remove that barrier to entry. Therefore, you see a lot more Bitcoin ATMs here versus an exchange, which has some element of custodianship. And if you're like Coinbase or Bitflyer or some of the other ones in Silicon Valley, you have to get a state license in every state. Right, and that really adds up in terms of barriers to entry, costs, creates a moat, that sort of thing. So yeah, we see more Bitcoin ATMs taking off. We've worked a lot more lately with over-the-counter traders, trading platforms. We work with crypto hedge funds, and believe it or not, crypto lenders. So that people actually take crypto as collateral and lending against that. And if you know anything about the crypto space, if you have a lot of crypto, you will do anything to make sure that you don't lose that collateral. So the rate at which people do not pay that back, or the delinquencies, is extremely low. Again, we have a very small window of time. It's not like the insurance industry where we have a lot of metrics, but that default rate, or that delinquency rate, is very, very small. So I think that's an area that will continue to develop.
Maybe more specifically,
Oh,
like, is there 1,000 customers? Is there 10,000 customers? Like, how many financial institutions exist like that?
How many financial institutions? There's like 2,500 or so Bitcoin ATMs in the U.S. Exchanges, depending upon their size, and I'm probably looking at another 25, 50 exchanges, and then over-the-counter traders and individual traders, thousands. Right? So, yeah, it just depends on the business model. No one's really quantified that, so I'm really just shooting from the hip here in terms of estimates. But each day, more and more people get involved in the space. Yeah, Laura.
So it might be in your slides, but a traditional question, I know you're a consulting firm, but is there something special about how you make money, and also like how many people are on your team?
Sure. Any special way we make money? We have sort of one-time fee-based pricing for our compliance services. So generally speaking, our clients will have us write their initial set of AML compliance program documents, policies and procedures. We do that as a flat fee pricing basis versus some obscure hourly rate that maybe doesn't have an end. So it's very consumer friendly. Our clients know what they're paying ahead of time, and they really like that predictability, especially given their sort of fragile state of being a startup, modest capital, as I mentioned. So that gives us a clear advantage there. And then at present, the technology, we're doing some beta testing with that. So everybody loves something for free. So at the moment, we're able to add that with our services. So really, I think that's the predictability. Regarding the team, it's myself. We have one other crypto compliance expert who comes to us from a Bitcoin exchange based in the Bay Area. And we also have a CTO, Chief Technology Officer, that developed ComplyFit, that has stayed on with us on a part-time, although it feels like a full-time basis in terms of his engagement with us. Yeah, in the back.
So I think I heard two parts of the business, like BitAML, which sounds like a service business, and ComplyFit, which sounds like a SaaS platform.
Correct.
And so I'm curious about the relationship between the two, particularly as it relates to ComplyFit's ability to scale outside of the service business.
Sure. So using the two together, right, they complement each other. So if we have the SaaS platform, as I mentioned before, there's some sort of red blinking light or some area of concern. We see that on our side, as does the client, and then we can have that relationship and back that up with the humans on the BitAML side, are able to support that. As far as scaling, it's just a matter of getting out there and talking to the exchanges with the state money transmission side, and then the transaction monitoring piece is more geared towards those existing clients that work with Bitcoin ATM operators and others. We've worked with over 150 clients, so we're just basically going back to all those clients and saying, hey, we've got this platform, you've got our AML program, we're familiar with it, how about we just hook you up and charge you a very modest monthly fee. So that's our sort of ramp up to scale, and then from there, as we add more clients, we're able to keep in contact with them by doing the initial set of compliance documents, having that initial consult, adding to it the software, and then continuing to have that relationship so that when they grow their business, make a material change, and have an annual update, both of which are required by the government, we have that sort of first bite of the apple because we've been in touch with them through the software.
I think I heard the answer is no, but does that mean then that ComplyFit really, at this point at least, can't scale outside of the service business?
What do you mean by can't scale?
So a traditional service business, right, you're limited by whatever's doing the servicing, right, usually human resources, right? So like your ability to scale is limited based on the number of people you can hire and how many hours they can serve in a day, right? So as you grow, you're growing proportionally to your human resources. In a traditional SaaS product, you can grow exponentially against the human capital because the software is servicing regardless of the number of people who are running it behind the scenes. So your 1,000th customer is 1,000 times cheaper than your first customer, right? So I'm just curious, like as ComplyFit as a SaaS platform, if that has its own means of customer acquisition such that can scale and grow, regardless of whether you had to scale the human resources proportionally on the BitAML side. So I think I heard the answer is no.
So what you're saying is you want to see how are we able to support that with the number of humans behind that on the BitAML side?
So essentially the question is, can you acquire customers for ComplyFit that aren't also service business customers on the BitAML side?
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't work with a lot of exchanges. As I mentioned, we work towards the lower end of the market with sort of startups, mostly Bitcoin ATM operators, over-the-counter traders. The idea of going with the state licensing is here's an opportunity for us to get acquainted with and work with large exchanges that are already established. Maybe they've worked with large law firms, they've worked with bigger players, not us. And we have the opportunity to do business with them, whereas before, they may not have come through the front door at BitAML. Yeah.
Do you touch international compliance at all?
So our focus is almost exclusively on the U.S. We've been contacted by a few individuals and a few companies in other jurisdictions. So we've worked with folks that are in the regulatory sandbox in Bahrain. So we've worked with the Central Bank of Bahrain. We're also in contact with regulatory authorities in Dubai. So there's a lot of sort of parity between regulatory compliance constructs across particularly Western jurisdictions. There's some nuances that are different, so it depends on who comes to us. So we have to feel comfortable with that relationship because the reporting agencies and some of the different cultural things may be different. So you can't be all things to all people, all countries. So if they come to us, in the case of Bahrain, through UAE, through Dubai, we worked the first Bitcoin ATM in Aruba. we worked on that, which is pretty cool. And we also worked with the first crypto ATM that's going right now into the Bahamas. In fact, our clients meet with the Central Bank of the Bahamas. So, yeah, a little bit like that. We have strategic partners in Canada and in the UK. We're exploring going into those markets, but having a strategic partner, we're probably going to stay with that approach, at least for now, and focus on the US. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the experience of going from ComplyFit to BitAML? In other words, like I'm using ComplyFit, right?
Sure.
I see a problem, and now you're going to I'm going to call you up and like, how does that work?
Yeah, so there's a button on there where you can initiate contact with us, whether it's through instant message or email or just a number where you can call.
But I'm assuming that now I'm paying for that service though, right?
Right, and then we can get into monthly billing. So we're including right now 2 free hours. We're going to see where that goes during our beta. So people can call us, feel comfortable, get those first 2 hours for free, just to kind of kick the tires and get our sort of sea legs there, be comfortable with that, and then eventually have that as a sort of a component where we can monetize folks that go through our standard hourly rate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions?
I'll keep asking questions. What's your biggest risk right now?
For our company or just
for
the
your
space in
company.
general?
I mean, for you specifically, what is your biggest risk that you're trying to mitigate?
For our clients or for our company itself?
Company.
For your company.
Oh, for our company, the biggest risk we're trying to mitigate? Just really staying on top of all the changes in the crypto compliance landscape. It's changing every day. Currently there's AB 1489, a bill pending in California, which would really decimate our potential client base because of the restricted nature of that. Will basically take a bunch of startup entrepreneurs and effectively fine them $10,000 to $15,000 a day for selling cryptocurrency. In its current form, so it's just been introduced, so we're not trying to get too ahead of ourselves, we don't want to scare the children, but it's something that we're working with, and we've reached out to our contacts in the legislature and through the Chamber of Commerce to try to see if we can address that. There's a lot of misinformation, and there's some just simple, straightforward exceptions that would really begin to focus on, okay, let's mitigate risk, let's do the regulatory compliance, we all agree it needs to be there, but it also needs to be sane.
Okay. There were no other hands raised, right? And we're out of time.
I'm on time, okay.
So I did want to tell you about, are you familiar with an organization called Design?
I'm not.
They're based in Oakland, and they are a lobbying group with startups at their heart. So they have at least a weekly newsletter, and I have a contact there that I can connect with. They may be working on this issue or have some information.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you